so excited to have you here on X's and Babies. We got Jeffrey over here, proud girl dad.
That's
Sydney
right.
in the house, co-parenting coach and proud boy mom. And we're going to talk about, just continue the conversation around co-parenting. We're going to focus a lot on like things we have to do to become better co-parents, like the hard internal work. So thank you, Liz, for being on the show. Do you want to just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Liz. I have a 3-year-old named Kyla who I co-parent with her dad. And besides that, I am a content creator in fashion and a stylist.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes, it's obvious too, because you put yourself together so well. Like you look so beautiful. You can tell when someone's an artist.
Too, though.
Oh, thanks, girl.
Do you paint?
Do I paint?
Yeah, you look like you paint.
I look like I paint. I used to paint for fun, but like I would never show anybody what I did. But I haven't for a long time, unless it's with my kid.
Oh, no worries. They have an artist vibe about you outside of fashion. I was like, okay,
yeah, I'm definitely a creative.
Okay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. Welcome. Thank you for coming, taking the time to show, to bless us with your knowledge on things.
Yeah, thank you all for having me.
So, Liz, describe your day-to-day life as a mom, content creator, artist. How does that look like for you? Or what does that look like for you, I should say?
My day-to-day, I work from home, so I'm lucky enough to not have to commute.
Yes.
As far as like my 9 to 5 goes. So I usually work from 7 to 11. My daughter wakes up around 10:30, 11.
I'm so lucky.
I know. She stays up late, though.
How old is she again?
She's 3.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so then I, kind of get the day going with her. Depending on the day, I might work on some of my, like, side hustles or my content creation. It might just be revolved around taking her to the park and making lunch. It depends on the day. Then I usually clock back in from 3 to 6 and then have the rest of the evening to spend with her. After she goes to bed, I usually work on my own stuff again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a busy day.
Yeah.
For sure.
So the content, what's your content?
So I do content on Instagram.
Okay.
And so I do it for myself and my enjoyment, and then I've also done it's called user-generated content, which I don't necessarily post, but I might make usually it's short format video now for different companies. Usually it's like skincare. But it'll be just like, I don't know, sometimes I'll be in them, or it will just be like me like unboxing and showing like the texture of the product.
Okay.
Nice.
And then on my own, it's always fashion when it's like my own thing. Yeah.
That is so cool. We might need some advice from you because, we got the X and Baby podcast and the Instagram, but
coordinate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's what's up.
So you have a 3-year-old daughter. Were you, let me know if I dive too deep with the question because I don't want to offend or anything like that. So the situation with the father, were you guys together at first? Before you became pregnant, or
Oh yeah, that was
ready.
quick.
I'm ready. I'm open to just
here.
I'm ready to be vulnerable and just really open.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But so we were in an on and off relationship before I got pregnant with her. We actually broke up when I got pregnant. Yeah.
That's tough.
Okay.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's more common than people want to admit as well. That's the same for me as well. When I thought I was going to be a father, her mom and I weren't together during her pregnancy. So that conversation is very, very, it could be stressful because it's like, okay, how can I move on with my life? But yet there's this life-changing thing that's going to happen in the next couple of months,
Yeah.
Was it like that for you as well? Or how were you able to deal with that?
It actually took me a long time to be able to talk about it. Like, I remember honestly going to work and like kind of after I had announced my pregnancy, not telling everybody that we had broke up because for me, I felt a lot of shame in that particular situation. So it took me a long time to even feel like really just open speaking about that because I think it is more normal than we think because a lot of people don't talk about it because there is a lot of shame about breaking up when you're pregnant or being single when you're pregnant. And I just forgot the question that you asked me.
No. Well, I was going to follow up because you said shame. So what kind of shame are you talking about that you were experiencing?
I feel like there's a lot of stigmas being, yeah.
You can say that again.
What I mean? Being like, here you are, like, there's a lot of stigma because it's like, I think sometimes breakups happen and we can't help it if, just whatever happens with you and that person, you're not right together. But as a woman, I really feel like there's people sometimes put the blame on you. Well, like, oh, well, what did you do wrong? You're not worthy. You're not this, because here you are and you're going through this journey being pregnant and single, and people are so quick, like when you're pregnant it's supposed to be like about the family unit, and I just think it is an extra hurdle, and so it does make you feel ashamed because or at least I went through a period where I questioned, like, what is wrong with me that I'm in this situation.
Right. And I do admit, and fellas, we gotta be honest about this, it's hella easy for us just to be like, oh dang, okay, like, this is
to remove yourself.
Remove myself from situation while the mother is sitting there watching life being, grown with, life happening. So we gotta, man, tough cookies. You guys are some tough cookies.
Give us our praises, because I never really shared my story around that, even on podcasts, that like when I was with my ex and we'd been together for 6 years by the time I had gotten pregnant, and I want to always be thoughtful about, like, we got pregnant, right? Even that language in one of our last episodes, someone's like, oh, well, when the mom got pregnant, no, when y'all got pregnant, right? Just even changing that language, because it takes two to be pregnant, and that ability to separate, the man's ability to separate and to make a decision whether they want to partake is kind of stemmed from that same language, I think. But yeah, it is very hard, and like the shame, and then me being a woman of color, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing the stigma. I'm like, I'm doing the stereotype. I'm fitting into the stereotype that people always are like, don't become a teenage like black mom, right? And and so I can a little imagine, right? Everyone has their own experience, but I'm right here with you.
So follow up. So your upbringing, right? So your upbringing?
My upbringing.
Yeah, like growing up, like, did you grow up in a single parent household, 2-parent household? So what examples did you have before you became a parent yourself?
So I was actually adopted.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I grew up, first my parents were together, but I had a unique situation. Like, my parents didn't sleep in the same room.
Okay.
That's tradition.
It was just like, it was very different. Like, because I remember, like, I never saw my parents, like, kiss or, like, have that, like, romantic relationship. And then they did end up separating, and my dad ended up moving out of state. So I kind of I got both ends of it at different times. Yeah.
Okay, got it. How do you feel like that impacted your parenting or your co-parenting experience, if at all?
I think I'm still trying to, like, unravel this part, because I tend to, like, compartmentalize, like, different parts of my life. I know how it, like, affected me in relationships. I'm not sure how it affected my parenting style necessarily.
Okay. That's fair.
So how would you describe your parenting style?
My personal parenting style? I feel like, I don't know. I'm a little bit like of a free spirit when it comes to like parenting too. Like, there's certain things, like, honestly, my kids run around the house naked half the time, and I'm just like,
live your best life.
There's like certain things that it's like I'm okay with in some ways. Like, I'm very straight. Like, I really am like big on like speaking to, adults like politely, and like using your polite words. Like, you don't yell and you don't scream when you don't want something. But in another way, I would say I'm almost like a little bit more hippie-ish with my parent style, but I also had a dad who was super hippie-ish, so I kind of, that kind of came down through me too.
Right. So when you said hippie-ish, what do you mean?
Just like more, non-traditional.
Yeah. What does that look like?
In the sense, well, for me, it looks like my kid running around the house naked, or like...
No, that's pretty hippie.
There are times when I let my child participate in certain decisions instead of just making them for her. Like, well, what would you like for dinner? What kind of food would you like to try tonight? You can help me with the cooking. You can be in the kitchen with me. You can... sit on my lap and help me while I'm working. Just trying to like really,
That's so sweet.
yeah, but trying to involve her and kind of give her own voice instead of it's always just what I say and you just conform to that.
Right. I think that's beautiful.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And you got that from your parents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
That's what's up. So, go ahead.
No, I was thinking about the hippie thing, though, because even though Seattle is supposed, like, not Seattle, because the whole state of Washington is not Seattle, even though I make that mistake sometimes, but...
Is it not? Like, go ahead.
North Seattle. Washington State, right, is supposed to be a liberal state, and we think liberal means be free, be who you are, but I have the idea that it's more conservative that people get it credit for. So I'm curious about the whole hippie aspect of parenting, because I heard there's this term called free range parenting. Are you familiar?
Is that like chicken eggs? Like
No, not
I like how I like my
pretty
chicken
much
eggs.
treat like giving your children the autonomy to make decisions for themselves, even though they're kids, right? Like they don't necessarily call it hippie or gypsy. They say free range parenting.
Okay.
Right? So I know the word.
It's like gypsy's like a whole culture. Yeah, go ahead.
But I'm curious to know. So you got that idea to, give your daughter the ability to make decisions for herself, and you got that, and from what you say, you got that from your parents, to do that. Why is that important for you to have that parenting style for your kid?
Well, I would also like to say, I have a balance a little
Right.
bit. I don't, because I know, there's kids who I've seen on TikTok, they literally just do whatever they want, and there is some balance and some structure. Then there's little things, I wanted to put her in an outdoor school, but the wait list is full.
Okay.
But, it's just things like that. I just think it's important because I want her to be free to discover who she is and not think that she is a certain person because she's supposed to be this way. I really just want her to be able to, she's young, but I guess go inward and figure out what she's interested in.
Right.
And if that ends up being something like video games, that's cool. If it's art, that's cool. If it's sports, that's cool. But I just want her to really get to know herself and figure out how to be authentically her versus being in a situation where she's trying to please people or fit a status norm or something like that.
Right. That's key. That's it. So what you're talking about obviously is your values, your values for yourself and your daughter. And so, with co-parenting, sometimes parents can have different values, right? And so I'm wondering, does this value show through for your ex, for your daughter?
I would say he's less strict than me.
Oh, really? Okay, tell me more.
I would say he's less strict than me because there's certain things, she likes to stay up late, but I like to have a bedtime because I feel hey, I need my time.
Right. Time to go to bed.
She's 3 years old. There's no need for her to be up late. There's just no need. But I know, when she goes to his house, she stays up late. And that's just kind of, you know what I mean? That's kind of her thing. So I'd say he's almost less strict and more lenient than me. But I also think, I don't know if it's hard for men to say no to their daughters. If you can speak more on this,
I'll say it later. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But so we're pretty similar thinking though, and we want her to be who she wants to be, and we want to be really open to just discovering that with her. And there's certain things when it comes to the food, because I know a lot of people it's well, whatever's for dinner, you have to eat that or you're hungry. But for me, I don't want to be treated like that. So I don't necessarily want my kid to be treated like that. So I want her to have some say on what we're gonna eat and when we grocery shop. But he's pretty close to being on that same page.
Okay.
I would just say he's almost more lenient.
Right.
What else are some shared values you guys have?
We're both foodies.
Okay.
So I know that sounds funny, but it's we're both foodies, so it's
that's a thing.
We want our toddler is still picky, but it's we're always trying to get her to try different foods.
Okay.
And from different cultures. A lot of, we took her to Momiji on Mother's Day. And it's a sushi restaurant in Seattle, she doesn't like sushi, but just to try to expose her to different foods so she's not a chicken nuggets and mac and cheese only type kid. That's good and it has its place, but
You're so nice about stuff.
just so we're both really open to that. I'd say that's a similar value. and just open to like letting her discover herself and who she wants to be.
That's good. That's good.
So it sounds like you and the dad are like getting at a good place with parenting, right?
Yes.
Was it always like that?
No.
Okay. So how was it in the beginning?
No, the beginning was very, very difficult for us, in seeing eye to eye. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to ask some follow-up questions. You can wait for us to ask them, or you can elaborate.
Yeah.
Come on, thank you for sharing in advance.
Thank you.
There's definitely been disagreements that we've had about her and raising her. I'll just like put this one out there because this was one that kind of like was a thing when she was a baby. I wanted to get her ears pierced.
Oh, okay.
He is not into that.
Okay.
At all. So that was kind of like it sounds like so trivial, but that was like a really like rift in us for parenting and having to compromise things like that. And then also just kind of like balancing like who has her when, just like little stuff like that. There's just a lot of rifts.
Okay.
So I had an issue with ears pierced too. When my daughter was like 2 or 3 years old, I didn't see the point of getting her ears pierced. Why was that important for her to get her ears pierced? I know it's very like minimal and picky right now.
Yeah, I know. That's why. Like, it's like looking back, it does feel like minimal now because I was the one who's like it, and now I can see where it is like really minimal. But my thoughts on it was like, A, I like how it looks.
Right.
B, I think she's gonna want them pierced eventually. So if it's when she's a baby,
right,
then I'm gonna be taking care of them while I'm already doing everything to take care of her because you have to take care of the new piercings, and it just. I don't know, it's a thing that a lot of people do when they're a baby. And him, it's not that he never wants her to have them. He just wants her to make that choice herself so that she doesn't have, I guess, her ears pierced with no consent. So it's like, now I can look at that and be like, okay, I understand. But at the time, it just felt like me versus you. Like, why not?
Right.
Yeah.
I will say when my mom got my ears pierced, I almost wonder if a kid's gonna be like, why are my ears pierced? I'm so angry. Like, why it's so... I can't imagine a kid like growing up and be like, man, why'd you pierce my ears? Because then you just don't wear earrings. But my mom pierced my ears when I was about 6 months old, and I don't remember it, and I love it. Like, I've done that. So, like, I don't know. To your point, like, I think that's... So, and I think we don't have to always have, like, a super great reason. Like, it's something that's important to you, and it's something that's important to him. When I like that his answer was fitting to that value you guys shared, which is, like, her making decisions for herself. So that kind of lines up. But I hear you. Like, it doesn't matter sometimes. It's like, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I care about. I think this is going to be really great for them. And sometimes it can just be really hard. Yeah. I hear you. So when you guys were in that moment, like those riffs, right? Like, like what'd y'all do?
Like in that specific one?
Like when you, like in general, like how did you guys manage issues back in the day versus now?
We didn't manage them very well back in the day. Okay. I think now we've gotten to a place where we can both discuss our different opinions and we can sit and listen. But honestly, back in the day, we didn't manage them well. It was more of almost a power struggle when something would come up, and it was just like a lot of fighting, but not a lot of listening.
Yeah, that's key. Yeah, I can relate.
What was the top issue? Or like the major issue that you guys really had to battle to overcome?
I think it's before we had really set up when, now we're on a schedule of when he has her and when I have her. Before we had really set that up, it was definitely like, who's going to have her when.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What was this, like how often did he have him then? Or have you, Kyla?
It varied. It's like we broke up when I was pregnant, but he came and we were cohabitating. How do you say that?
Yeah, that was it.
Like the first, just the first month that she was born. And that was actually like super helpful because he would take like the night shift and
nice. Okay, pops.
during the day. But then after that, like, he went back to his house and it was just me for a few months. And then he would just, sometimes we would all be together as a family. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes we wouldn't. And then when I started working, she was born in January, I started working in May. Okay. And his job was super flexible with paternity leave, so he was able to take it later as long as it was within that year. So he went on his leave, and he would have her just while I was at work during the workday. Okay. And then eventually he went back to work, and then we kind of shifted to a schedule of every other weekend. Okay. Thursday night through Sunday, he was with her, and I think things got better after we had like something like scheduled.
Right. Okay. What was the point of content? Like, why was there like a riff when you didn't have a schedule? Like, what were you guys arguing about? Come on.
A part of it was just like me, like, I think I was kind of jealous to see his freedom, and I was like in this like new mom phase, not feeling that. So part of it would be like, if I wanted to do something, I would want him to be able to drop everything that he had and take the kid. And obviously that's not sustainable necessarily, but just like these kind of unspoken expectations.
Gotcha. And I was going to
much
add,
impact there.
Yeah, that was. Matter of fact, I don't want to lose that. So I'm gonna hold my other question till later. So because of course you had to do that, right, as the mom, like you don't have freedom to do whatever you want. So seeing him do that, do you think resentment would resentment be the good term?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was holding a lot of that.
Right. So how do you still hold on to that, or how did you unpack it if you're not holding on to that no more?
So I've had to just try to break unforgiveness that I had. Like, because I think that the resentment comes from a place of unforgiveness for me personally. So I had to really work on unpacking that and really just understanding how unforgiveness holds me back more than anybody else. And then kind of go in and just do the work to unpack that, and also just to kind of accept my life, because it's not like in any way I don't want to be a mom, but I had to really like accept the transition from having freedom to do whatever I want all the time to now my life is different, and I have to just be okay with that and just accepting of that.
Right. So what did you do? Like, what steps did you take to unpack it?
Prayer. For me, it was a lot of prayer.
Okay.
A lot of, because I have a relationship with, I believe in God. I know not everybody listening might, but I think most people have some sort of, some sort of spiritual side to them, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it was just a lot of prayer and trying to break down this unforgiveness so that way I can move on and try to just accept it as it is, and also live in the now, because a lot of time unforgiveness and resentment is rooted in what's happened in the past. Okay. So if I really focus on here, right here, not the future, not what's behind me, not what's in the past, but focusing on here also helps, because this is not what's happening here. This is what has happened.
Right. And how has that impacted your co-parenting? Like, give an example where you thinking here versus in the past has helped you out co-parenting wise.
Oh, a lot. I think about this. I was thinking about this morning, because in the beginning it was rough just on both ends, but both him and I have matured and grown and been able to change a lot. So it's like, as long as I'm holding on to whatever problems we used to have, or what he might have done 2.5, 3 years ago, that's not really a reflection of how he's showing up and how he's acting right now, nor is it a reflection of how I'm acting right now.
Right. I feel like that really frees you up to, like, gives you some peace of mind. Like, I've had to do the same in some ways, or I've asked my co-parenting partner to do the same. Like, I feel like you're interacting with me based off of things from the past. Yeah. And, like, if we could just stick to, like, this discussion around track or, like, sports or things like that, if we could just stick to that right here and not you thinking I'm being manipulative or trying to control the situation, then I think we could get somewhere. And I feel like it's just freed me up. I hope it's freed him up to just have that peace of mind while we're co-parenting, so we can just focus on the matter at hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's commendable, though. I love it. I love it. Jeffrey, what were you going to say?
I was going to ask, prior to you becoming pregnant, how long were you and the father together?
I'd have to do the math, but I want to say it's about 2 years, but we were on and off. It was not a consistent 2 years.
Okay, on and off for 2 years, and then in the middle of your pregnancy, you guys separated and broke up. How much of that do you think bled over to the parenting decisions in the beginning?
Beginning?
Yeah.
Almost everything.
Okay.
If I'm being just to be upfront, real and honest, almost everything, because I was also hurt.
Yeah, of course. And the fact that, I would imagine, of course I can't imagine it because, I, giving birth and stuff. I could just imagine you had to regulate that, right? Regulate, the amount of hurt that you actually can feel so that way it doesn't transfer to the kid, physically, right? So it's very, very tough to go through that process. This person broke, we're not no longer together, but yet now we're tied together for the rest of our lives through this child. So, let's say you had to go through a lot of prayer, or you prayed a lot. And is there anything else that you had to do too? Because therapy is a thing now, right?
I don't know. I need to still go to therapy.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go to therapy to the day I die.
I haven't yet, but I know that I need to.
Okay.
I definitely need to.
From what you know, were there things that he had to do in order to unpack that, or you still believe that he has some things that he still needs to work on?
No, I don't. Well, he's not here, so I don't know how. You know what I mean? I don't want to put all his business out there, but I do know. I think he'd be okay with me saying I know that he has been in therapy.
Okay.
Good for him.
And working on himself and just things like that. I think too, it's huge because we both met when we were both in a party scene. And that was our thing. We'd party, we'd break up, we'd find each other again at the club, and then,
let's love again.
We'd be back together.
Right.
So, also just, surrounding, I think, both of ourselves with better people and a better community, less toxic lifestyle.
Message.
Yeah,
I hope that all the listeners are hearing all of it. You're touching on so many key things because in order to have a better co-parenting experience, we, like you're saying, we have to do the internal work, right? Then also, who are we surrounding ourselves around? Are we surrounding ourselves around people who want the same things, have the same things that we want? And if that's not the case, you gotta switch up. So how did you come to that realization? I'm so impressed.
It's hard for me to say because it's not I feel sometimes you hear people how they've come out of something and it's they have this just epiphany and this wake up moment and everything changes. For me, everything was very gradual.
Yes. Okay.
Just very gradual changes. I will say, honestly, the pandemic helped me a lot.
Right.
The pandemic helped me a lot because it was in this place where, I was forced to go inward because I'm at home by myself all the time, so I don't have anything to do besides go inward. But just a series of events and even synchronicities that pushed me further away from the lifestyle that I had into what I am now. And of course, when I got pregnant and stuff, obviously that all stopped and had a new baby. But then I was kind of wanting to ease back into that old or missing that old, just I want that old
and it's fun
back. Yeah,
it can be.
So I don't know, just it was a very gradual process for me.
I just want to give you your kudos and to your ex too. I'm we should probably have a thing where we do a round of applause whenever someone says they're in therapy or doing some kind of work, because it's gonna bless our children so much, and that just makes me happy to know that Kyla's getting the best, and so
because it started coming across therapy is starting to become the palate cleanser.
What do you mean?
Any of childhood trauma or childhood or past thoughts, as soon as you go to therapy, I was thinking this earlier, it opens up a door that you didn't know existed. About what to explore this room now. Where's all this stuff come from, right? And then it allows you to tackle it. So that's good to hear. It's good that work's being done on behalf of the baby.
Yeah.
That you guys have, so.
What are some other things that you did to help get you to this healthier place? Like, are there any other things you guys had to like navigate as co-parents?
What do you mean?
Like you said, you guys went to therapy. He's going to therapy. You did some internal work. I think you turned, to your faith as well.
Yeah.
Like, are there any other tips you have for people who are co-parenting to like help them have a healthy co-parenting relationship?
Not having sex with each other.
That one.
Okay.
That is okay. Let's dive into it. That's actually funny.
Take some water.
Go ahead and take a water break. I say that because that's good to know, because this is the second time this has come up in one of our episodes where a discussion around like intimacy with co-parents comes up, and I'm realizing that it's way more common than I thought, where you have this intimacy, you have that there, right? That's why the kid's there. So you have this intimacy, and then once you go into like just co-parenting, you're no longer in a relationship together, whatever, it is kind of hard to sever like that other tie, which I know that's why some people probably don't want to date people who have baby mamas and baby daddies, because they know that there's something. That's probably why people are like, I don't know if I want to date a baby moms or baby dads, because they probably still have some kind of link. And so like it is really common, but I don't think anyone's talking about it. So I think it's really important that we talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you bringing that up. Like, tell us about that journey. If you're willing. I do appreciate you. We're gonna help a lot of people here tonight. I believe it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, I do think it's very common for people to still be sleeping with their ex when they have a kid together. Like, from what I've heard, it's common. We weren't like the outlier.
Right.
And even like you can go on Twitter, like it's
it's everywhere.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
And if it's not happening, it's a lie. Like, I don't believe it.
Well, I think if you think about it, a lot of times, even when we have an ex who we don't have a kid with, a lot of times it takes longer for the sex to end than it did for the relationship. Not always, but that is often the case. And I think, when you have a kid together, like, obviously you were attracted to that person at one point. Obviously, sometimes you kind of are still searching for that emotional bond that can come from that too. And so it wasn't like we're like having sex all the time, right? But it would happen, especially like if one of us got drunk or something, you know what I mean? Then
the right chemistry.
What happens? Where do you end up? And so we had been doing what exes sometimes do. Right. And then we had kind of stopped, but then, like, it would occasionally happen. And I actually remember, I know the last time it happened. It was Christmas 2019. It was Christmas 2019.
2019.
Because it's the holidays, and we had been, like, trying not to, and then it did. And I remember we had been, like, in a really good place with co-parenting. And then that happened. And then next thing you know, it's not good anymore.
The co-parenting.
Yep, we're arguing, we're fighting. It's not just about the kid anymore because, this thing had happened. Right. So I really, truly believe, and he does too. I even was talking to him before I went on this podcast, and he said, that's a huge thing. Once we stopped having sex, our co-parenting went up and just got better and better, and we're able to actually have that friendship with one another.
Right, because you believe it allows you to focus on what's important, and sex complicates things, especially with a high stressful situation as parenting.
What else? Why do you think stopping the intimacy made the co-parenting better? Because
when we're being intimate, as much as we would want to say, it's just going to be casual or this one time, sometimes we would say that at the beginning. It was a little bit different. But I can't speak for everybody, but for me, casual sex is not really ever going to be a thing, because my heart is always going to get involved. My feelings are always going to get involved. And I think other people can resonate with this. When you have a kid with somebody, it's very hard for something like that to be something so intimate to just be casual and nothing else. So the focus would shift from parenting to jealousy, feelings of entitlement, feelings of wanting something more, even though it wasn't going to be something more, and it was no longer healthy for it to be something more. So it would get a lot more, I mean, I guess parenting is personal, but personal, like, feelings would get involved. And when you're feeling angry, sad, jealous, like any type of those feelings, you don't act the best. You don't show up as your best person.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I definitely, because like you said, we're trying to respect our other person's personal business, right? So it's challenging, but I do feel like this is gonna help people, because no one's talking about this right now. And so, but with that said, I agree. I definitely had to, like, make sure that we stopped doing that. And we were trying to entertain, maybe trying to get back together. And once we really freed ourselves from trying to do that, we could just focus on co-parenting. We could focus on going and getting our healing instead of trying to have these maybe codependencies or attachments or whatever. We could just, because I don't think, even if, let's say, we were trying to get back together, I don't think us as ourselves in that moment would have been best for each other. And so I'm really grateful that we, like, woke up and just like, let's just, like, not do these things, and let's not try, and let's just focus on the co-parenting. And I really think that's been really rewarding, and he has gone on to find someone who's a better fit for him, and I've gone on to just do my free life, which I was going to say earlier. Okay, I know that you were talking about that balance between, like, being a mom and, like, going and partying and stuff like that. Like, have you found a way to, like, work in the part? Because I don't think you have to choose. Like, some things you have to choose, but I don't think you have to choose between, like, going out and, like, also, like, feeding your kid dinner and, like, loving on them and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I feel like I have had a balance. I just feel like the way that I was trying to do it before wasn't even necessarily a healthy way.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I was up in the club, and then I was at an after party, and I was, you know what I mean? So it was like I wasn't able to then show up. So now it's one thing is when I'm on vacation, I'm at the club, I'm drinking, I'm partying, and then I will still work it in sometimes to my life here, but it's like I've become so busy with other things that it's not as much of a priority. But, or, like, you know, like a day party, like, yeah, there's definitely ways. It's just I was approaching it from a way that was unhealthy for me.
Like, just partying responsibly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got you.
As we should all be doing anyway. But
I'm just kidding.
Kids or no kids. Like,
that's true. That's fair. What about you, Jeffrey? Have you had to, like, find balance between, like, I don't know, there's this stigma around what people think parenting should look like. And so have you had to find a balance between, like, what you truly want to do as a human, a free-willed human, versus, like, what you do with your daughter and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did, because it's all about self-awareness, right? You gotta, it's balance, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta figure out what's important for you and what you want to do. Like, I love my daughter to death, you know, but I realize I do need me time as well. And it's easier for me to do that now that she's a teenager versus 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. So I think you gotta find your level of self-awareness for what you need in order for you to stay sane. So that's what I've been working on for the past few years, doing that.
I think, you know, one of the things I love about co-parenting too, though, is you do have that time, because there's a lot of moms, and it also helped me to learn this, but there's moms who are married or living with their partners, but they have all the weight and they do everything, and they don't ever have a free night or anything. So that is, I think, one benefit
Hell yeah, say
of co-parenting
it.
is we have our free time. We do get a break sometimes, you know.
Absolutely. I feel like that makes me a better parent.
Our own cup too, because it's hard to show up for your kid if you're feeling drained and you don't feel like you have that break.
And it's very normal to feel drained. It's very normal to, like, we're all still living our lives and humaning, and it's all coming together. And I know that was my favorite part of co-parenting, has been, like, that free time to, like, go travel, go party, go continue to, like, we're multifaceted people, right? When we become a mom or a father, we don't just do that. And I hate that that's been the pressure that we've had as parents, because it's just not realistic and it's not necessary. I'm a better mom because I went and partied the other day. And, like, went and danced, worked out, sweated, had some fun, got to feel some autonomy. I'm a better mom the next day because I went and, like, stayed out and had a good time. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What, Jeffrey? Come on.
I'm a better mom because I went to go kick it last night. I'm a better mom now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think we're breaking like norms of today that were established 20, 30, 40 years ago, because it's not the same world. But you still have people still trying to hold on to what traditional was in today's time, and you can't do that anymore. So you need outlets, right? So you got to release all that stress and steam going to the gym, going to the club, so that way you can be a better parent for your babies. This is funny hearing that out loud. That's all.
Message. I had to twerk a little something so I could. So I could
leave it at the club. That's
love my son. I was gonna do what I have to do right now. So I could cook a little something. No, I'm saying.
So I have a question for you, and this is a little off the wall question.
Ooh.
Off the wall. So, what are your co-parenting goals?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Whew. I don't know if I have sat down and thought about that. I mean, the end goal is always Kyla. It's always my kid. For her to be able to have a relationship with both of her parents and feel love equally from both of them. Not feel like she can't go to dad about something, or she can't go to mom, or she's always trying to appease one of them because she knows that they don't like each other, and XYZ. So, I mean, the end goal is just for her to grow up feeling supported, happy, and healthy, and like she has both of her parents.
Kind of piggybacking on what Jeffrey said, so how, with that goal that you have, how is your co-parenting going to support that goal? How you co-parent?
I mean, I hope that it will just keep on being open-ended. I mean, I like that her, and when I pick her up, or for example, like me and her dad can sit and have a conversation about the weekend, and we can go on and talk a little bit like about our lives and what we've got going on professionally or something like that. And I like that she can see that, because I know that a lot of kids don't see that. Or we do like holidays and stuff together for right now. I don't know what necessarily like the future will hold, but just her being able to see that her parents can get along and we're there to support her, even if we aren't together like the traditional, the classic way that parents are.
Okay, I love it. Yeah, because that's the one thing I want to bridge for myself, and as I'm like coaching, when I'm coaching co-parents, like, okay, what is the end result? Like, what do you want your child to grow up to be? What do you want them to feel, right? And then, like, what are we doing right now that we can control to, like, support that as co-parents? And so I love what you shared about, like, your dynamic and, like, how you guys share space. She gets to see that great example of you guys getting along, and then, therefore, she gets to feel secure and, like, not feel like she has to appease people, like you said, and try to fill the gaps or whatever.
And I just want her to feel loved.
Yeah.
I want her to know that she has all the love from both of her parents, from both of her side of the family, and she is important and she is loved. And that's, I think, that's the real end goal.
That's dope.
I love it. Oh, that's so beautiful.
So earlier you mentioned about, changing your environment because you out kicking it in the clubs.
Yeah.
So how important has that been, changing your environment outside of the house? Like, you're like the club scene, right? Do you still hang out with the same friends that you did before you became a mom?
Nope.
Okay.
So was that intentional?
A couple.
Was that intentional, or did that just happen naturally?
I was the first person in my friend group to have a kid.
Okay.
And so it just happened that way, where after I had a kid, like, it was just harder to navigate because I couldn't necessarily just drop everything and go hang out on the fly. And I didn't, like, I like to have a good time, but I didn't want to spend all my time drinking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's Tuesday night, I don't want to take shots till 2 a.m. and do X, Y, Z. This is like an example, but I just had different priorities. And it's not, I never had like a falling out with anybody. It just was, our lives just felt very different. But I still have some, like my best friend, like we're still super solid, and we can talk about, because we've been through like that massive like partying nonstop phase to like kind of where we are now, and we can kind of like talk about that journey. But I think for me, it had a lot to do with being the first person in my friend group to have a kid also.
Okay.
Yep, that'll do it. Same.
Yeah, I was
were you
curious
too?
about that,
Oh
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Too. And I'll
That
still hang out
happens,
in
yeah.
friend groups who like don't have kids. It'll be a friend group of like 10 people. And I'm like, yo, it's just different. And people are they'll be sweet and lovely, but they'll just be like, hey, who wants to do this tonight? Or who wants to do that? And it just naturally, there's sometimes naturally just a disconnect. Not that it can't be fun and great and whatever, but you know, we just move different when we're parents.
Yeah.
We just move
Yeah.
different. We have certain availability, and I love hanging out with parents. Because, like, let's say I'm hanging out with you and Kyla, right? And you got to, like, give because Kyla's asking a lot of questions. And, like, maybe, like, oh, I'm trying to hang out with Sydney. Like, let me talk to her a little bit. But other people, and I'm going to be like, go hang out with Kyla. Do what you got to do. Like, don't worry about me. Like, just, right? Like, as a mom, I'm going to, like, take that time and don't feel any guilt about it. You won't feel any guilt because, you know, I get it. And so when I'm with other friends who don't have kids, they don't really get that. Like, you got to, it's my focus can't 1,000% be on you if my son's there. I mean, it's not to be rude. It's not that I don't care. It's just, like, that's how it is. And I feel like some people just don't get that all the time.
Eating at restaurants with your kids, with people who don't have kids.
Right.
Can be.
Ooh, there's a podcast on that. I bet.
That's an adventure. That's an adventure.
It's challenging, yeah.
It definitely is. So my last question, advice, right? For moms, similar situation, or moms that you know they're in a similar situation as you, what advice would you give them to get to a happy place with it?
I think stop having sex with your ex.
Hey.
Stop having sex with your ex. And then, but also try to view them as a friend and try to actually, not like your best girlfriend, but try to view them as a friend, not as your ex, because then you're always going to be stuck in the past and all these angers. So try to view them as a friend and try to really want what's best for them. Not just want what's best for your kid, but want what's best for them, because at the end of the day, what's best for them is best for your kid, too, and for you.
That's the secret.
Because that's him and I, like, we show up and support each other in a way where we both want to see each other thrive, and that has been huge, too, because when we weren't cool like that, we didn't necessarily, or at least I can't speak for him, but I didn't necessarily want to see him thrive when I was still angry.
Right.
So,
Speak on it, yeah.
Right.
That's real.
yeah.
That's dope. That's advice.
That's beautiful.
Set aside your ego.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, set aside your ego.
It's hard, but yeah, it's important. I love what you said about not just thinking about putting Kyla first, but also putting each other first too. Because people will hear me say this time and time again, but like I think good co-parenting is putting your kids first. Like, good, that's great. Like, but if you want amazing, solid, holistic co-parenting, I think you have to put the kid first, and like you said, care about the well-being of the other parent.
Yeah.
With boundaries.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Like, I'm not gonna like
boundaries
go
are key
into
too.
debt for
That's
somebody.
another- Boundaries are key.
Ooh, okay, yes, boundaries. We'll have to do a whole episode on that.
I know. It's like I feel like we could talk for another hour.
Absolutely. Maybe we should, like, casually for fun.
Right.
I love it. Anything else, Jeffrey?
No, that's it. That's all I
All
got.
right. Well, thank you so much.
Appreciate you being on.
Yes, and for
having
sharing.
me.
I know this episode's gonna bless people.
Yeah.
None of us are perfect, so I love Jeffrey and I are never gonna say we're perfect. Like, we're not here to say like this is how you do it. We're here to say like this is where we struggle and this is some stuff that helps. So thank you so much for being vulnerable, so we can help other people figure out.
How do people find you? Since you do the art and the content creating and all that jazz.
You can follow me on Instagram. It's at thejoyen, like the JOYEN.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, Joy is my middle name,
Okay.
and then E and N are some of my initials.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
So it's my name.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's really cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Thank
Enjoy
you.
it. So appreciate you coming.